Brand nerds, we are listening to another podcast of Brands, Beats, and Bites. And not too long ago, we learned that we have listeners in 50 different countries. LT 50, 50.
Man, that was mind-boggling, wasn't it, when we heard that?
It really is. It really is. So all the brand nerds around the world, much respect and thank you. LT.
Yes.
I want to talk about nuance for a second here. Nuance. So sometimes you can put one thing before a word and it completely changes the meaning. And I'm going to give you an example, LT and brand nerds. If you said a culture, then folks would go, okay, what's happening with a culture? But if you say the culture, there's a select group of folks that know exactly what that means. And they know you're not talking about a culture. They know you're talking about a specific culture. And in this case, LT, when I say the culture, I mean the culture that moves brands and commerce globally. And in the building today, LT, we have someone that understands the culture and how the culture impacts brands all around the world. LT, let the people know who we got in the building today.
Oh, D, this is going to be fun. We have Maegan Moguel in the house today. Welcome, Maegan.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. So excited to chat with this group. It's going to be awesome.
Yes, we're really excited to have you. So, okay, brand nerds, we have a great guest who is really having wings as a very young person in our business, and we thought this perspective is a great one to share. So, plus Maegan has some great stories to tell. I have to tell you, we've already had some great conversations with her. So with that, let's get into Maegan's wonderful background. Maegan is a proud War Eagle as a graduate of Auburn University. And brand nerds, we love the way Maegan started her career. While at Auburn, she simply leverages the rich opportunity of being at a big-time SEC school, and she gets a job first working as a media relations assistant and then as a football player development assistant, both in the Auburn athletic department. Maegan spends almost 3 years in these jobs doing grunt work, like getting the coffee, but other things, some pretty cool things, such as organizing and maintaining honest athlete profiles. I love the honest there. Coordinating community service hours with athletes, serving as a communications liaison between players, parents, and coaches, which in this day and age, brand nerds, is just vital. Filing and copy athlete articles and publications. And lastly, writing feature articles of Auburn athletes with 4 of those articles published. So brand nerds, please note, Maegan then lands a job with the Atlanta Falcons as a corporate partnership assistant. And the Falcons clearly see her as someone who could come right into their organization and help them from day one due to her rich experience at Auburn. Maegan then moves crosstown to the Atlanta Braves in a similar position, but because she clearly keeps relationships close, she then rejoins the Falcons, but now in a more senior position, eventually becoming senior corporate partnersip executive.
LT, I'm sorry, I just got to interject, brother. I'm sorry. Whenever someone says the Atlanta Falcons, someone else has to say, rise up.
Rise up.
Rise up. I just got to get that in there. Okay,
we still rising up.
All right, that's cool. It's the fly Eagles fly and all that stuff, right? So yes. Thank you for adding that, D. So in this position at the Falcons, the primary highlight among many is Maegan had a 100% delivery on all corporate partnership elements, including bonus elements based on a cost of execution for each sponsor client. So Maegan's really doing her thing with the Falcons, and then she gets a big opportunity to join Porsche North America, serving as the first national strategy manager for all experiential partnerships. In her 6 years working at Porsche, Maegan has Porsche partnerships with many prominent brands and companies, including Delta Private Jets, Hugo Boss, and the Atlanta Pride, to name a few. Most importantly, the work Maegan leads drives results, including increasing brand visibility to new, younger audiences by aligning with national multicultural sponsorship opportunities, resulting in 80% increase of ROI based on car sales within a 6-month time frame. So with this success, brand nerds, others take notice. And Maegan then gets a great new opportunity in 2021, where she becomes senior manager for culture marketing in the Deep South region at Red Bull North America. Passion meets purpose in her role as she excels to give creative wings, I love that, to diverse talent within music, dance, art, and community. Her premium consumer experiences are increasingly relevant among the multicultural community for Red Bull. So lastly, Maegan is an active leader within her community. She co-created a service platform, Blessing Bags LLC, which aims to provide essentials for the homeless community. She is an alumni member for Lead Atlanta, a professional development society for the city's rising leaders and impactors. She also leads the Young Professional Board for Meals on Wheels Atlanta, a passion point for her to serve the least of those around her and the elderly. Looking forward to this one. Welcome to Brands, Beats, and Bites, Maegan Moguel.
Thank you so much, Larry. That you know those heavy days at work when you need to be reminded that you're doing your thing. That helped remind me I'm doing my thing. So thank you so much for that amazing introduction. I appreciate it. And I'm so excited to be here.
Well, you did it all. And truth be told, Brandon, we like transparency, Maegan. And Maegan and I were the first ones on. And I could tell just, having interacted with Maegan, I was like, oh, Megan's having a rough day. And she said that.
Woo!
And so we're going to make her day better. We're going to make her day better, D.
It's already getting better.
Yeah, you know this, LT. Maegan, you don't know this about me, but I do not believe in coincidences, or as one of our partners in another business, his name is Jimmy Smith. We affectionately refer to him as Black Jesus. He says coinky dinks. That's what he called coincidences, coinky dinks.
Right.
So I don't believe in coinky dinks.
Oh,
And
wow. Yep.
the fact that we are here together at this time on this Zoom, there's a reason for that.
Yes.
There's a reason for that. All right. So before we get to the get comfy section, I just need to shout out a couple of folks. So I discovered Maegan through a really good friend of mine. His name is Scott Robinson. And I've known Scott, I call him, Maegan, I call him Scott LaRock. I've known Scott LaRock for decades. And Maegan and I both were working with Scott, with a client of theirs at the time. And I was doing something with them, Larry. You may or may not remember this. And then Scott told me about Maegan, but we missed one another. Like I don't think I was sitting there for to see Maegan do her thing, but he was like, yo, you have got to meet Maegan. And he's gonna broke down, Maegan, all the stuff that you were doing. I was like, oh yeah, we have to meet. He's like, you need to get her on the podcast. I was like, oh yeah, we need to get Maegan on the podcast. We need to get on the podcast. So brand nerds, really looking forward to this. Now I get to get comfy.
Yeah.
I mentioned the culture in the opening. And as Larry has run down your experience and given you your flowers, that came up as he was reading through your background. But there's another thing that's happening here, Maegan, at the end of the opening that Larry read through of your experience, and that's the community. So the get comfy question is, you could be doing a lot of stuff with your time. You are a busy person. Why are you currently, and why have you decided to invest your time, your talent, your treasures in the community work that you do?
I think for me, like, we all have jobs, we all have careers, and we've all got to put food on the table, and to get to that level, I'd be remiss if I didn't think about the people that help get me to those spaces, and why I serve in the community, and why those special touch points are there is because my background technically hasn't afforded me to get where I'm at. I am the first generation college graduate of 2 immigrants from Belize in Central America. I didn't have the best advice for college. I didn't have a lot of direction on how to navigate next steps. And the people who saw something in me, A lot of those people were older, you know, well advanced in their careers, and they saw something in me, and that gift to serve and to lean into other people. I didn't know how that came into people's eyes. Like, why are you choosing me, or why do you think that you need to help me? And I feel like those moments have taken me so far, where it's, I have to serve, I have to give it on, I have to take it to the next step or pass it down. And because there's so much afforded to me to even get where I'm at now, and where I'm at now is not the last stop. And so for me, just the community part is so important, because a lot of the people who just saw something in me when I was younger, whether it was, you know, my big mama, she wasn't my real grandmama, but she was my friend's grandmama, and that was my big mama, you know, and the way she talked to me and nurtured me. There's a woman named Lucinda Cannon who in college, she just helped guide me. She helped make me understand of how to make my small apartment a home. Little things like that, where I feel like those little things have trekked me into other service platforms like Meals on Wheels. And there's a group caring for others here in Atlanta, that really understanding that there's a lot of people who we consider elderly who have given so much, who have almost emptied their cup. And by a certain age, who's filling your cup, and reminding them that they're not forgotten. And so the things that you hear in my bio about, specifically like Meals on Wheels and organizations of that nature, I think it connects back to just having those roots of people who made a conscious choice to help me. They may have not had time, they may have not known why, but they went with their gut and their heart, and they saw something in me to share a nugget, to give advice. So why I serve and why I put community and people first, it really just goes back to that other people put me first.
That's deep.
Okay, Scott, I get it. I get it. I get it. Thank you.
I.e. Scott. I.e. Scott. People like Scott. When I'm 21 years old, navigating and running around and just trying to figure things out, Scott saw something in me to stay in touch with me over 10 years later. Don't know what he saw. Don't know what he saw when he met me at 21, 22. But the fact that he's kept that in his heart about me allows me to be where I'm at today, and just still feel inspired that I can pass along that love and that guidance to other people.
He's a good brother.
Good man.
good brother. Larry, any follow-ups to anything our sister has dropped down here?
No, other than I so appreciate where you're coming from, Megan, to have the ability to pay it forward, right? To see how you've been helped and how you're paying it forward. And that's something that if we all did, the whole world and universe would be a whole much better if everyone had that sort of same proclivity.
Yeah, I'm gonna paraphrase a quote here, Megan and LT. I wish I knew to whom I should attribute this. So, brand nerds, if you hear this and you're doing anything on social media, please help me find the source. And our producers, Jeff, Jade, and Haley, you all help us find the source as well. But the quote was, the two most important days of your life is first the day you were born, and the second is to know why you were born. Why are you here? And you, Megan, have, in my opinion, you have figured that the answer to the second question out. And oftentimes, Megan, you know this, there can be people, they might be 50 years of age, 50 years old, but they're not really 50. They've lived 1 year 50 times. So they're very immature, very immature. You, at whatever age you are, you have already figured out why you're here. And that is good for all of us. So I just want to say respect.
Thank you.
I just looked it up, and I see Mark Twain is the person.
Mark Twain.
Who,
Okay. Yeah. What is that?
so that-
You're fast,
Sorry,
Larry.
Megan.
You're
Sorry,
fast.
Megan.
I love
You
it.
started this.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you. All right. We are going to move now to a read of a sponsor. Yeah, Megan, we got sponsors now. You know, we trying to grow up a little bit, And Larry is going to do the honors, my brother.
All right. Hey, brand nerds, back here to talk to you about specificity. And brand nerds, we know many of you are immersed in digital marketing or simply involved in it. Either way, if you want to optimize your digital marketing to maximize results, we have the solution for you. In 2021, an interesting thing happened that forever changed the landscape of digital marketing. Apple's iOS update was structured to provide users the opportunity to opt out of ads, and more than 90% of users opted out. Android quickly followed suit with similar opt-out numbers. The situation created complete upheaval for the entire digital marketing infrastructure, with engagement rates falling precipitously. Now you know why you may be a 24-year-old single dude playing with your favorite game app on your phone, and all of a sudden you're being hit with an in-game ad for Pampers. That's serious money down the drain. Here's where specificity comes in to save the day. Specificity does not track or know users' personal data such as name, social security number, etc. Specificity uses device ID numbers similar to a VIN number on a car, so they track what users are doing without knowing their personally identifiable information, working in harmony with the post-privacy update. Now with specificity, both the consumer and the advertiser are happy, since consumers see digital ads that are relevant for them, and advertisers serve ads to people that are receptive to the message. Let's give a real-life example. If our super producer Jeff's old brand Lunchables wanted to use specificity, they can serve ads to only parents, but not just any parent. They can dial into serving ads to only working parents of children, let's say 6 to 12. Additionally, if they wanted to, they could also not serve ads to any parents who are vegetarians or vegans, consumers who are not exactly prone to buy Lunchables. Bottom line is, this would enable Lunchables to be incredibly efficient in serving their message only to those who would be most receptive, and doing it in a way that completely respects said consumer's privacy, since they do not know or learn any personal information about these people. The bottom line here is, folks, as we get into the end of 2023, we believe no one else out there can deliver better digital marketing results than specificity. We have introduced specificity to many clients, and everyone is super happy, since each client has been more successful with their digital marketing efforts than they were before. For more information on specificity, please visit their website at specificityinc.com. Again, specificityinc.com. That's specificityin.com. Their website is also on our show notes. If you want to improve your digital marketing results, go check them out.
Thank you, Larry. Okay, Megan, we are moving to the segment we call 5 Questions.
Okay.
I ask a question, Larry asks a question. We go back and forth until we arrive at 5. And I am up first. What was your branding experience? Take yourself back, Megan. Your branding experience. The young Megan, the first time you had a brand experience, or you might go a little later in your work world. But this experience really blew your mind with the brand, Megan. You just could not get enough of it, could not stop thinking about it. If you spent like 15 minutes on it, if you were like, okay, it's only 15 minutes, like, oh no, I've been engaged with this brand for like an hour, 2 hours. I'm so into this brand. A bit like a first love for you. What was that brand?
And when you say first love, I think that's what shifts it for me. I don't know if this is necessarily a brand, but I would say a media outlet. When I was younger, I fell in love with the Food Network.
No, that's it. That's a good one.
I fell in love, and I think it's because what they portrayed is that they had these cooking shows, and you felt like you were in the kitchen, and you felt it almost became a lifestyle. It was like influencer marketing, like a long time ago. But really, when Food Network was really getting heat, you had the Emeril Lagasse's, you had all of the unique shows that were happening I
Yep.
remember being at home and just literally, when I tell you standing in front of the TV, like literally just watching shows back to back of Food Network, and then literally trying to make food that I did not have at home. I didn't have caviar and all the fancy things, smoked salmon bagels. I didn't have these things at home, but you would see me, like my mom always talks about, I would get in the kitchen and just start working and just trying to be creative and almost emulate what I saw. And you know what sometimes what kids see is what they can become. And I felt like I could become a chef. Like I would tell people all the time, I was like, I'm gonna be a doctor, I'm gonna be a singer. I would never say I'm gonna be a chef. But when you caught me at home, that was my lifestyle. I was a chef. I got into sewing and I sewed myself an apron and I named my restaurant. So I created a restaurant at the house, just like the restaurant I would see on
Wow.
TV. The restaurant was named Chubby's.
I love it.
Don't know where I got that from. But I sewed it on an apron, Chubby's, and it said head chef. And that became my affinity to the Food Network because I knew I could go there and get information. I knew I could go see something new. I knew I could go be inspired and get excited. And obviously I think eventually like I faded out of wanting to be a chef, but still to this day I watch Food Network. If I need something to decompress, if I need something to just make me happy, what's better than watching people eat food? Like and just enjoy it. So for me, the brand experience really like for me, it was a lifestyle of like chefs and people in the kitchen and the happiness of enjoying food and giving people food. Like I think that sparked like creativity in me somehow. So food, it's not the Nikes or the Adidas of the world. It was food, guys. Food Network.
Oh, Dee, I'm loving that. When you were doubting whether that was a brand, like that is the way you just told that story. I mean, Food Network ought to pick that up if they could. And man, like that's that was incredible. And so, how old were you when that happened? When you really got immersed in it?
I would probably say around 10, 11, 12, that age. Like I was pretty young, but I was still in the kitchen. Like I still
Got it.
had the ability to, I remember cooking eggs in the microwave, like stirring it up, acting like I was just top notch. And so it was definitely to the point where my parents started to see like, all right, she's not letting this go. But it's also, it attributes to what Food Network is doing because if you look later down the line, they started coming out with kid competitions
Yep.
and kids shows, and they were on top of it because kids would watch that, and it's like I want to be that head chef, but it's like I could be that now. Like I could technically be a chef now as a child, and so it's great to see like how they've expanded, you know, their breadth of shows on the Food Network and how they've gotten super creative within, you know, holidays and culture and kids and just diversifying their talent pool as well. So I still love me some Food Network, still love it.
That's really cool.
So you didn't know this, Megan. One of our clients at Brand Positioning Doctors is Tastemade. Tastemade. And
okay.
You know Tastemade?
Yes.
Okay.
You're talking about a brand. It's like within, it's not Forbes, but it's in Condé Nast or something. It's a brand within a bunch of brands. It's about food.
It's not actually. It's its own thing, and it's on social. Yep, it's they're very big on social media. And they also have an up and coming fast network as well.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna dive deep into that.
Take them out.
Go ahead.
So we did some brand strategy work with them, Megan, and now they have launched a brand campaign. And the brand campaign, the strap line is "Where taste is made." Where taste is made. And so shout out Evan and Naira and Jay and the rest of the fam over there. Larry Fitzgibbons. That's the CEO of the company. You are what we would describe in our parlance, the brand lover for the Tastemade brand. Yep. I know you grew up on the Food Network, But in today's context, we would view you as a taste-made brand lover for the reasons you said. And the way you articulated that brand, and no, it is not a consumer packaged goods or an athletic apparel brand, that answer is fantastic. Fantastic. Yep. All right, Larry, you want to hit the next question?
Yes, let's do it. So, Maegan, who's had or is having the most influence on your career?
There's been a lot of people that I mentioned earlier that have poured into me, even to the point without reciprocation. And a lot of times in business, we talk about, mutually beneficial relationships and partnerships, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes you just find good humans. You find good humans who pour in, knowing that where you pour is not where you'll reap. And this goes back to my days at the Atlanta Falcons. So I'm fresh out of school, graduated school in 3 years, 18-hour courses. Like, I was out of there, and came up here and took a summer internship with the Atlanta Falcons. Literally just from May to August, doing the grunt work. I think I was getting paid it might've been like $5.50 back then. I don't know. Like, I was just putting food on the table, but loving what I'm doing. And my boss at the time, she's still at the Atlanta Falcons. Her name is Tamika Rish. She worked in partnership. She's over fan experience now. Tamika didn't know me from a can of paint. Like, she didn't know me. Literally, my boss from Auburn, he used to play for the Falcons. His name is Ben Thomas. And I was going to go to law school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I kind of just landed at the Falcons, and, he helped me get there. And I think with her, she didn't know my work. I had a resume, but she trusted me with who I am as a person first, versus my skills that came out of my hands. I think she got to know me for my head and my heart and my background. And then everything else she taught me. And I think that's the respect that I give her, because as long as you can find that person's integrity and intentions, you can teach most anything else. There's courses, there's repetition, there's way to teach skill. You can teach skill, but you can't teach just being a good person and doing the work. And she always leaned into me about that. Like, things weren't ever perfect, but she was like, you have integrity and you're a hard worker. The rest, we will figure it out. And having her just trust me and pour into me, I think allowed me to escalate at a different level at a young age, because I moved quickly because I knew someone trusted me. And I had that grace with her, and she's just influenced me. I actually texted her this morning, hey, just checking on you. And she texted me back and she said, I love you. And here we go, getting emotional.
All right.
So that's influence to me, because it crosses paths. I don't work for her anymore, but that influence, it goes into different spaces. And so, Tamika Rish, you got me crying on this podcast. But that is, to me, that's leadership within the space of business and brands, that you can go across different sectors. Like, she still influences me to this day, and she reminds me to just be a good person. Be a good person, and the rest will figure itself out. Second question, tears, guys.
Oh man, we're thank you. Shout out to Tamika. Thank you for being such a good human. And then, what happens? Those good humans launch you, who realizes all that you've learned, and you're paying that forward. So we just love that. We just love that.
Yeah, Maegan, I want you to know that on our podcast, this is a safe space to go to the tears. Yep. Here's what happens in culture generally. When a moment starts to get emotional, we don't give it the space. We want to get right in and so what I want you to know is that here, when you're having that emotional moment, we're going to step back put our arms around you metaphorically and give you the space to have that moment. You can do that here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You
Yes.
can do that here.
I've been needing a good cry, guys, and it just so happens to be happening on a recorded podcast. So
All good. It's all good.
Well, we appreciate you having the ability to do that.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
We do. All right, LT. Can I hit the next one, bro?
Please do.
Hard left turn, Megan. Hard left turn.
woo.
In your career, as laid out by Larry, and just what you know you've done, people have poured into you, but they've not poured into you erroneously. They poured into you because they've seen something, and you acknowledge that yourself. You said you're not quite sure what they've all seen, but they've seen something.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, you've had some wins in your life, some wins, some dubs in your career. But this next question doesn't have a damn thing to do with your dubs. This is about the L's. This is about the L's. This question is about the L's. And one in particular, one loss. You took an L. It was on you, Megan. You thought it was going to be fine. It very much was not fine. What was that L that you took, and what did you learn from it? That might be the most important part of the question.
This L is very in the moment right now. I'm taking this L currently.
Okay.
So I work in the space of culture, and we do events, we support businesses. Throughout all of these experiences, you bring on vendors, you bring on contractors, all of the things. We're creating experiences that give highlight to culture and to talents, and with that, I'm very passionate and very clear on using businesses from the culture for the culture. It's really something like, even having my leadership understanding that it's for us, but it's also by us, and having that full 360 experience, that we're using diverse partners and really allowing people to go from here to here. And with that, you're not always spot on. There comes risk. There comes taking a chance.
Yep.
And sometimes you take big chances, and you go to bat for things that you may have not fully vetted, but you're going with your gut, you're going with your heart. And that's important. But I think also in the space of business, we do have to remind ourselves we're focused on the people and culture, but we've also got to remind ourselves this is a business, and there's money involved, there's monetary implications. And I think, there's moments where I love and I trust and I put people first, and I go with certain vendors that, maybe I haven't vetted or haven't, done my research on. And more recently, I've done that with a partner who was obligated to produce a product, and the product did not meet the expectation. And the way that works right now, and where I'm landed at, is I'm in the hole a lot of money from the business side. Like, I literally lost the company a lot of money.
Wow.
And that is a heavy burden, because you put people first, but you're also here to do a job.
Right.
And there's a balance in that. In circumstances, the business has to come first. You're here for a job, and how you navigate people and culture, it becomes very sensitive. And I think within culture marketing, that's the one thing that people don't talk about. When you want to do things for us, by us, it's not an easy process, y'all. It's not perfect. It's not clean. You take chances, and that's where you take L's. So you take the L, but you also get the told you so. You get, in business, you get the told you so. You get the told you so. And I think for me, when there becomes implications to the business and my job, it's like a double hit. It's like your heart hurts because this relationship didn't work out. But hey, this is a big learning on your job. Like, this is a huge learning. So lots of emotions with that, because you have to balance both. So the big F up for me is really learning that you can support the people and the culture, but when you work for a company and a brand, they have their own obligations and bottom line as well. And you know, there's moments that I have to make sure that I remind myself to prioritize that over choosing what my heart is saying. So the big F up is I lost the company a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But the learning for me is I know that I am going to be able to figure out how to balance that a bit better in the future, choosing the culture, choosing the people versus doing what's right for the job that I've been hired to do.
Mm. Larry?
Thank you for sharing that, Megan. That's deep, and we really appreciate you sharing that. You know, we all have F ups, and you know, yours is one of trying to do the right thing, right? You're trying to do the right thing by a lot of folks, and you know, it sounds to me like in your zeal to do that, sometimes that takes the first that took your first steps and continued to lead you down the path, and it feels like the learning is, well, hold on now, I love you dearly, but you got to make sure that you do right by me too, right? Like, you know, right? And that feels like that's a learning that not only for you, but that can be one for our brand nerds out there, that, you know, it's making sure that you square all the corners, right? And circle everything, because you, in your zeal to do the right thing, sometimes the primary mission happens. In DC, I'm just thinking about something that happened with us this week, where I said to you, like, hey man, you know, I know you want to do right by this person, but we got to think of our business first. And we had to cut some ties because of that. And it's a hard lesson to learn, and we're all trying to balance that all the time.
Larry, I remember that conversation very well, and it was recent. Megan, this week, my eldest daughter, Haley, and I were talking, and Haley's one of the producers here, and she's on the podcast right now, off camera.
Mm-hmm.
And she was checking in on her father. And I said, Haley, everything right now seems hard. Everything I'm attempting to do, it just feels hard. From the big stuff to the not so big stuff. It's just all hard. Said the same thing to Larry.
Mm-hmm.
So after that conversation, my daughter Haley, shout Haley, I call her Halekins. She calls me Daddykins. She sent me a something from IG, and it says this, and I'm gonna share it with you and the brand nerds now, Megan. There is no better teacher than adversity. Every defeat, every heartbreak, every loss contains its own seed, its own lesson on how to improve your performance the next time. And that is from Malcolm X.
Whew.
With his mug shot.
With the mug shot.
With the mug shot,
Wow.
okay?
Wow.
Rest in power, shout Detroit Red, because that's what I know him as, Detroit Red.
One of the best books I've ever read is the autobiography of Malcolm X by Alex Haley. Brand
That's real.
amazing.
Yeah, this facts. So I want to say to Haley, thank you for sharing that with me. And that was this week. And another reason, Megan, why I say I don't believe in coinky-dinks, because I had no idea this might in some way be germane to what's happening with you right now. So thank you very much for that transparency and vulnerability.
Yes.
And thank you, Haley, for keeping your dad inspired, because that quote is, I was on the phone with my coworker before the call, and she said something very similar. Like, this is a part of the story. This is a part of you going to the next level. And so it's so very true in that without these moments, how are we supposed to transcend? How are we supposed to launch if we don't go through these experiences? And although it feels hard and it hurts, similar to what you said, like DC, everything just feels hard. It has to happen, or else we're gonna stay here. It
Yeah,
has
that's
to
right.
happen. And
Right.
how do we build our muscles to take that on a bit better? I would say, like, we're
Yeah.
just working our
Yeah.
muscles and building our muscles to really keep it going while we feel, while we understand, we go through the hurt. It's just muscle building. We're in the gym right now, and for you, DC, you said everything feels hard, and and sometimes you feel like you're probably hitting a wall, but it all comes back to you. What I
Mhm.
see from this podcast is y'all are pouring out into the world goodness, and so it'll all come back. And I'm sure whatever you are going through this week, it'll all work itself out.
Thank you, Megan. I too believe
Yes.
that.
Thank you, Megan.
All right, Larry.
Ooh, man, this is so good. Megan, you're awesome. So we're going to take another left turn, Megan, to go to the bites with the Y part of the podcast here. So regarding technology and marketing, you've seen a lot, right? Can you tell us where you think marketers should lean in or best leverage tech? Or you can talk to us about areas that you think they should be leery and avoid.
So from a technology standpoint, I've heard a lot of things like marketers won't be here, we'll have robots, all of those things. They can be true. I think the best thing marketers can do right now is still hold on to the human effect, and really understand how emotions are tied to habits, and really making sure we hold on to that as long as possible, because it's still true. Like, we're still all humans, and that ties to reaction and what we do. I think for marketers and those in events, what I'm personally wanting to dive into more is how can we be more efficient and effective, and from an organization standpoint. I just did an event this past week, over 2,500 people, 5 stages, 5 sound systems, the rigging, the time frames, the music. It was a very complex project. And what I learned is that everyone uses different programs and ecosystems to stay organized. But I think what gets lost in that translation is how those systems connect. And I think as humans, we're still going to have to do the job, but how do we stay better organized from a task perspective, from a resource perspective, from a budget perspective? All of those little details matter once you close out experiences and programs and activations. And so it's more of an area of technology that I'm curious about, I would say, is how can marketers and brand experts find better ways to stay organized? There's a lot of programs that we use, from Microsoft Teams to Slack and all, a lot of programs. But for me, it's like, well, how does technology figure out a way to connect in other facets, just so we're all on the same page? Like, we might be all in the same book, but these different groups and entities on a project could be all in different chapters, and there's nothing that's really really helping us get on the same page a lot of times. So I'm hoping that as we develop from a brand perspective in technology, that technology can allow brands and event marketers to just connect quicker. There's email, there's phone, there's so many forms, but how do we figure out a way to just bring that all in? My mind was rolling on that as I thought about my event this week. Like, there was probably like 100+ staff members on this project. It was wild, but there were so many different ways. There's a text message group, there's an email chain, there's a Google chat, the Teams chat. It was just like, whoa. So I'm hoping that technology can find a way to actually bring us all together.
You're raising a great point. I'm struck with, as you were describing that, and you even brought it to life more when you were saying there's 100 people and all the disparate forms of communication that you all had. I'm struck with, we're all inundated all the time with inputs, and they're just flying at us, right? They're just flying at us. And to your point, there's nothing that at all organizes it. We have to do the organizing. And it's sometimes when you're inundated like that, it's very difficult to discern what's most important and what's not, you know, to prioritize things. And it would
Right.
be wonderful if technology could help in that lift.
Yeah, Larry and Megan, we'll go back to this line you said that technology can impact the marketing function. Megan, you said some folks will look at technology. You're not saying you believe this, but it is being said that technology, it's going to have marketers be replaced. Right. So I'm gonna go to a saying of one of my very good friends and leader, CEO of the #1 Black owned and operated news platform in this country called Atlanta Black Star. His name is Neil Nelson. So when he and I were working together, and we're working together again now, I would say to him, 2 heads are better than 1. And he would say, that depends on the heads.
Uh-oh.
He's right. He's right. So when I hear
He
about
is right.
technology, marketers will be replaced. It depends on the marketer.
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends on the marketer.
Don't throw me away yet. Please don't throw me
do it.
away yet.
At your own peril. At your own peril.
That's right.
And then when you talked about emotions are tied to habits, this is the nectar of marketing, right there. You said it.
Yep.
You get to the heart, you will get to the head. That will influence the actions or habits, or habits through the hands, through habits. So I'll finally say this, and then we'll move to the final question. Is that what we believe technology will do? This is why folks say marketers will be replaced by technology. They are saying they believe that technology has the ability to function like a human.
Yeah.
That's what they okay. And here's the deal, brand nerds. You all have had people likely in your lives who you thought, and these are humans, loved you. And then upon retrospection, you go,
yep,
they didn't really ever love me. Not for real, for real, but I thought they did. So if an actual human cannot do that, what makes you think a human programming some technology can do that? So back to your point, not all marketers are going to be replaced, y'all.
No
way. The good ones are going to remain. The good ones are going to remain. All right.
Yes, and leverage that technology. That's right.
Leverage that technology, correct.
And leverage it. Yep, I agree.
All right, last question, Megan, of our 5. This has been great. What are you most proud of?
Whew. So when I think about how I answered all the other questions and the ups, the downs, the arounds, what I have seen from myself is that I've maintained who I am as a person. I haven't, when I talked about how Tamika saw that integrity and that hard work in me, I've maintained that through the change, through the ups and downs. And I think a lot of people don't get credit on maintaining who they are as a human being. We work for brands, we work for companies, and sometimes that becomes our definition of who we are and our recognition and our persona. And, what I feel comfortable saying is that I've maintained who I am as a person. And that, the day I hit my grave, I'm very confident that my grave is not going to say the best marketer in the city of Atlanta. I feel very good about how I've just shown up as a human despite the ups and downs. And I would encourage people that work for brands to really monitor not getting so tied up into this. You can still be passionate, you can still go hard for your people, but allowing your identity to be engulfed into a brand or a company, you've got to monitor that. And I'm proud of myself to say that I have maintained, and I would say maintained and regained that power throughout my career. And I only plan to keep doing that. And it's those moments that you've got to speak and remind yourself that I'm still who I am without X brand. And that's a level of confidence that takes a lot of work. And I'm very proud of that. forget all the amazing events I've done and moments that are memories. Like that's something that I'm proud of because it lives in me versus it lives on a marketing slide. Very proud to say that. And I'm glad that y'all asked that question, because I think in the brand side, a lot of us got to remember that our best attributes to the world are probably not where you're working or that moment. I would hope that we can find something bigger that truly impacts like yourself or people around you.
Ooh.
That's good.
Is that okay?
That's good.
No, that's not okay. That's amazing, actually.
I don't have an event to talk about.
There's
Fantastic.
nothing to add. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And yes.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
so that's 5 questions right there. Fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. Man.
Fantastic. All right. So now Megan, we're gonna get to the next segment, changing gears on you again. So this is what's popping. What's popping, D?
What's popping?
Okay.
All right. This is Megan. This is our chance to shout down, or simply air something happening in and around marketing today that we think is good fodder for discussion.
Okay.
So I've got a really good one, D, unless you have one.
Or I do not. Let's hear it.
All right, Megan, D. So I don't know if you all have noticed, but Megan, I know you've got a bit of a sports background, but there's the NBA in-season tournament going on right now.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I would love, we all have different levels of fandom and different, so what are your thoughts? Anybody have thoughts about this? And Megan, specifically, if you have any thoughts regarding in the partnership space, because again, you've spent a lot of time in sports in and around that. I'd love to hear your thoughts and perspective on it.
Well, hold on. Before you go, Megan, and by the way, you all may have already discussed this. Larry and I are avid sports fans.
I saw the basketball pop up. I saw it pop up.
Okay, all right. So you saw that. So are you a sports fan? Are you familiar with this that Larry's talking about?
So I watch sports all the time. Literally watch it all the time. So I wanted to ask a quick clarifying question. Is this taking place in Vegas or where is it taking place?
I'm so glad that's one of the reasons why, and D, I posited this with Megan a little. You got it. It's the finals are in Vegas.
Got it.
But what the NBA is attempting to do, and that's why I'm glad you even asked it, because it's very confusing. What they're doing is they're designating certain games in the regular season as in-season tournament games. And then it's going to work where there's like 5 different categories. Each team's in the A teams and the B teams or whatever. And then the records will then they'll play one another. Like the winner of those groupings will then play one another to eventually get to Vegas. So it's part of the regular season, but the finals are the one thing where that would be an 83rd game. Everything else up to that is just going to be built into the regular season. And I see the consternation on your face, Megan, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this. It's very confusing. And I'm a Warriors season ticket holder, and I follow this stuff closely, and I have it a little bit, but not great. So that's one of the reasons why, again, with your partnership background, I thought this would be something that we could really chop up.
Okay. You want me to go first? Or you want to go first, DC?
You please, Megan. I just want to make sure that you were familiar with it. So
yeah, no, you clarified it. So from a brand side, it's something that we're addressing in my current role as well, is that really looking at consumer habits and the consumers that are coming up, essentially our younger generation, really our entry-level consumers. You know, what we've seen in the past from brands is that how you become distinctive in a space, you have to stand out. And what I've seen happen is that standing out sometimes is put in the place of making something complex. Complexity really causes confusion in the consumer's mind. And also then at that point, I would say, confuses their habits. Like, what am I going to do because
Right.
I can't understand this? And I don't know the full details, but from what you explained, Larry, I think we all agree that this tournament concept is confusing the fundamentals and foundation of just a regular season. The consumer is like,
Yep.
what should I watch? What's the point system? Who's on first? Who's on third? It's literally it's that. And
Yes.
I don't believe that that is going to be the best approach for our younger consumer, because they will quickly shift. Like, they have no reason to pay attention or even take the time to learn a system that already confuses a fundamental foundational system. So more coming from the experiential side, I would say. I'd be interested to see our, like, the output and our NBA fans, like, do they want that to come back? Because you're literally, it's what you said, Larry, like, confusion like that can change someone's habits very quickly. And it could change it for the good, it could change it for the bad. And it sounds like they're doing this for the first year, kind of this point system integration. And for me, the confusion, we've got to address that and see if that actually has the output that they may be promising to partners or even the consumer.
Yep.
I'm riding with all of that, Megan.
Yeah.
All right. So for the brand nerds out there who are not sports fans and do not know what this thing is, think of the NBA regular season, just the way it goes, and then games that you were going to be playing anyway have now been designated as a part of what is called an in-season tournament. All right. So you're not doing anything different. You're doing the same thing you normally do, but your games are now being designated counting against these in-season tournament. So then the question becomes, Megan and Larry and brand nerds, why would they do that in the NBA? Well, it's pretty simple. First reason is when the NBA season starts, end of October, going into the November, which is where we are now, early November, it is affectionately referred to as the dog days of the NBA. The players don't care. The fans don't care. It's just happening. It's just happening. Yep. So one reason why this is done is to add a little more energy and juice to the dog days so that players will be more excited. This was the thinking, I'm sure. Players will think the games are more meaningful, and then fans would engage more during this in-season tournament. But the real reason, Larry and Megan, we all know what it is. It's the money. It's the Skrilla. Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
It's media buying, the branding.
That's what it is. It's like, how do we elevate the ratings? Yeah, how do we elevate the ratings? So what they're doing is they're attempting to say, we are good during the real playoff season, so the authentic, legit playoff season. We are not good at the beginning of the season. So what we're trying to do is have a little of what's in the playoff season, that magic, happen in the early season. So this brand nerds is what they're trying to do, which leads me to one of the inimitable poets of our day, comedian Cat Williams. All right. So he has a joke that I think explains this perfectly. And it has nothing to do with the NBA. Nothing to do with the NBA. But there's a corollary here. And here's the joke that he has said. Now, I'm from Detroit, y'all. Y'all know that, brand nerds. I'm from the D. He said, this is the early days of the Chrysler 300. They don't make it anymore, brand nerds. But the Chrysler 300 was a very popular car. The reason why it was popular is because people would say, and this is what Cat Williams said, well, that Chrysler 300 looks like a Phantom. Until a Phantom pulls up. Until a Phantom pulls up. So what I say is the NBA in-season tournament looks like a Chrysler 300 until the NBA playoffs pull up like a Phantom. That's my thought.
So I'm down with everything you all said, but I just want to put a little capper, give my point of view on it as well. I think that everything you both said, I'm as I said, I'm totally with. But what's also happening here, and I have to give a shout out. I was reading some articles on this, and there's a gentleman named Joe Pompliano. I hope you have his name right, at Huddle Up. And Joe posited a theory that all the things that you all said, Joe posited a theory that says, you know what? The NBA TV rights are coming up soon. So not only do they want to get some more reason for fans to watch, and by the way, they're giving the players $500,000 to the winning team. So they're giving them the monetary reason. So they're given, and so they want to engage fans for all the reasons that DC talked about with the dog days and whatnot. But here's the bit. I think Joe hit the real reason. They're coming up on a new rights deal. They're going to have this in-season tournament. That's another thing to sell as they put forth the new rights deal. So they can then chunk that off to another group of network streaming service where they get the NBA in-season tournament.
Oh, that's
so
got it.
That sets up a whole different more revenue. So I think Joe nailed why they're really doing this. For all the reasons that you all said is right, D. I think they want to engage fans, all that stuff. But I think that's the real reason.
Right. Wow.
I agree. Yeah, I agree, Larry.
Right? And by the way, it's a terrible name, like NBA in-season tournament that doesn't, to your world, it doesn't have a sponsor yet. There's been talk about sponsors, but if they chunk that off, right, with a new rights deal for that, they can also then sell a sponsorship, right? You know, Red Bull presents NBA in-season tournament. Maybe give it a different name or whatever. I'm giving you your current employer, right? But then all of a sudden it's a different gig, right? And so they're clearly doing this to generate more revenue. And by the way, also it comes from the soccer model. Adam Silver's a big European soccer fan. So that's what they do over there. They have the Champions League. And so they have these in-season tournaments over in European soccer. I'm not a big fan, but I know that that's the model that they took this from as well. Yep. So anyway, that's what's happening.
All right. I'll say this final thing, but Megan, any response to what Larry said before I give my final thought on this?
Yeah, I think to his point, there's a vision and plan in place to launch a somewhat of impact from a business standpoint, and I would hope that they continue to just look at the insights from the consumers and really make sure that they're doing the right thing by the people that are already locked into their audience. Because while we're trying to get new consumers, you got to keep who you got. And people there's so much change happening in sports. Like, even if you look at the new rules, like in tennis and baseball, like there's change happening changes are being made that are more beneficial to the business or the media outlet, like just making baseball games faster, things like that. And so I would just hope that, Adam and team, everyone at the NBA, that they really actually take a step back, and after they do this test and trial and say, hey, did this work? Did people like it? Did it meet some sort of number that warrants us doing it again? And I would definitely hope that all brands are doing that, because we're definitely at the day and age where you can take risk, but you can't make the same mistake twice, because people notice and people talk. So I'm interested to see, to your point, like what comes out of it, and if people like the actual fans say that they like it, and also the players, they're being kind of squished into this. I'm curious of what they would say after this.
What a great ad, D, right? It's all about the fan and the consumer, and that's really what you're saying, Megan, to make sure that they're doing right by that. And I think most fans roll their eyes at this, quite frankly, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what Megan said is what it should be. But what this article says, tell me the brother's name who penned this article.
Joe Pompliano from and he posited this theory, and I think he's dead on, that it's something that is just a whole other media rights, and that they could sell for a couple $100 million. They'll make the fans and players like it, D. That's what you're really saying.
They will do it. Okay, so thank you for giving me that name, Larry. So Joe, I recognize that I lost the plot here, because I was thinking like Megan about the players and the fans.
Yep.
But this is about a deal. Yep. And Megan, way back in the day, what they used to call the NBA was nothing but attorneys.
Oh.
Yep, that's what they
I
used
haven't
to call
heard
it.
that one. I haven't
Yep.
heard that one.
Nothing but because most of the senior staff, Megan, they were attorneys, and Adam Silver is an attorney. And what do corporate attorneys do in media? They make deals.
It's a
They
deal.
Yep.
It's
Yeah,
a contract.
Yep.
That's it. All right.
Oh man, Megan, this has been amazing. I can't believe, Dee, that this has gone so fast. This is what happens, Megan, when we have such a great guest like you. It flies by, and then we're all of a sudden at the show close. So I'm going to start first. I'm going to go with my learnings. There were a ton, brand nerds, tons, okay? But I'm going to keep it to 5, all right? And here's my 5. So Megan said at the beginning that she said, quote, she has to serve. So brand nerds, how can you take that thought into your life? That's number 1. Number 2, how can you pay it forward in helping others, just like Megan has? Number 3, with Tamika's lead, thinking about people you are going to hire, brand nerds, I'm going to add a little sauce to this, but when you're thinking about people you're hiring, again, Tamika's lead, does anything else much matter than integrity, grit, and intelligence? You can boil it down to those 3. As Megan said, and coming from Tamika, you can learn everything else. So that's number 3. Number 4, with the F up that Megan so wonderfully shared with us, while you want to do the right thing, you got to think of your primary first. Got to think of your primary first. And sometimes that's going to lead you down to make some tough decisions, but you got to think your primary first. And then the last one, which is just the great mic drop that Megan shared with us, just maintain who you are at all times. Those are my 5.
Solid, Larry. Solid. Strong, brethren. Another coinky dink. Your last one of from Megan, just maintain who you are. I sent a text to all 3 of my daughters, Haley, Lauren, and Sydney, yesterday, I think it was, telling them the same thing, because I noticed a young lady who worked in security. And I know for a woman to work in security, she has to be dealing with some stuff just because she happens to be a female. And so I said, hey, listen, I got 3 daughters. You are working in security. What advice would you tell me to share with my daughters? And she kind of looked at me straight like, oh, wow. And she said, tell them to be who they are. And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. So same thing. So that's a connection there, a coincidence. All right, Megan. If you have heard any of our podcasts, you'll know that at the end of it, what I attempt to do is codify what I am feeling as the soul of the person before me. And sometimes it hits me, sometimes it doesn't. And in this case, something has hit me, and I just attempt to share what I am seeing as what you are bringing to this planet, that is something that you can do that maybe others cannot do. In other words, Megan, what have I gotten from this conversation that indicates to me what you are uniquely bringing to the world? And so I'm going to attempt to do that now. Make an attempt.
Okay.
When we got to our 5 questions, the first one was about the brand experience. The first one, and I said, it's like your first love. You said, oh, now you said first love now. Now that kind of changes it for me. I got to go somewhere with this one. And then you mentioned the Food Network. This was your answer. You're like, it's not a Nike or something, like it's the Food Network. We're like, yeah, go ahead. And then you talked about how when you would look at the Food Network, it was like you were in the show, going places. Like you didn't have caviar, but you didn't have the things that you saw, but you were still up in there trying to cook it up. You were trying to cook it up for the people now.
People.
And, you were cooking up for the people. And so, yes, folks may have wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer. He was like, I want to be a chef. I wanted to be a chef. First point. Second point, along the same lines, you stuck with this. Your parents are like, okay, listen, Megan, can you come up out the kitchen, please? Can you? And then you said, oh, no. They saw I was not letting it go. I was not letting it go. I done made myself an apron. I done put Chubby's on the apron. I got a whole restaurant up in the house. So parents certainly understood that, okay, if she's making aprons and she got a store name and it's in our kitchen, probably ain't gonna let that go. That's the second thing. And then here's the third thing before I bring this thing home. You talked about your parents being immigrants from Belize, Central America. Are your mother and father still here with us?
They are. They're in Alabama. Yes.
In Alabama. Okay. What are their names?
Benjamin and Carolyn.
Benjamin.
All right. Benjamin and Carolyn.
Yeah.
Okay, shout out.
Benjamin and Carolyn. All right. Another question. What was going on when you were a kid with your mother and father in food for them?
Oh, it's very interesting you asked me that. They were always both in the kitchen, but what I will say is that my dad was in the kitchen more.
Okay.
And I watched my dad do a lot of the cooking and serve us even after like long days working. And that was his peace and that was his joy. And that was in a way the way he loved my mom. Because typically it's like, the wife's cooking all that. But to see my dad in the kitchen to actually come to her with a good plate of food from, back home and make her feel good with that. I love seeing that. And that made me understand that it can be a male or a female, like serving in general. So it's crazy how you bring that up, because I watched him serve her since I was a kid. And it's a beautiful thing to see, that it can go both ways. It absolutely goes both ways.
You just said you watched your father in the kitchen getting it together. And he would come out of the kitchen and serve your mother. Okay. You mentioned when you said you wanted to be a chef, you didn't just say a chef, Megan. You said head chef. Head chef. So here is, in summary, given all of that and your career, what I think you are uniquely suited to do and what you have given to us in humanity. You are the head chef of culture and community. Yeah, you are cooking up culture and community. And then after you cook it, you serve something, and you serve three things, and it's a triple alliteration, all beginning with the word L. So you done cooked up your culture and your community. So what is Megan serving? First, Megan is serving lyrics. Megan got a story to tell. Shout Big Papa one time.
I used to rap in high school. I'm just throwing that out there. I had a rap name, May Money. Like I freestyle, like storytelling freestyle, talking about my clothes and shoes. So I had to pinpoint that before you keep going. Like my friends know me. They like May Money. They're like, bust a rap for us, May Money. So just had to throw that out there.
Thank you for that, Megan. I actually had lyrical written down. I changed it to lyrics because I said, well, she can't serve lyrical. She can serve lyrics, but you're lyrical. So you are serving lyrics and they are lyrical.
Absolutely.
Love this.
The second thing, thank you, Larry, that you're serving, also on the L, levitation. Levitation. Levitation homes. So before Maegan comes into a situation, it's here. This is before. After Maegan comes into the situation, it goes up, it levitates, it rises. So the second thing is levitation. And then the third L that you serve is the same L that Benjamin served Carolyn. Love.
Love.
Yep.
Love. That's you, Mamita.
Woo, I needed that. And I needed that. And I received that because all
Good.
of that's in me. All of that is in me and it's in me to share with the world. And I'm thankful for spaces like this that continue to affirm, you know, our brand nerds and all of our marketers, you know, your community, that there's something special about all of us. But when you know it is when you can dive into the pot, when you can have that sauce about you, and you know, through the ups, the downs, the arounds. I appreciate you sharing that, and I wrote that down. I'm holding on to that for truth, DC. That's real. So thank y'all both so much. Today was much needed, as it was probably going to be beneficial for your community. It was much needed for me as well.
Well, that's the most important thing, because and then it's a win-win for everyone. Maegan, is there anything else you want to share before we sign off here?
And actually, let me be more precise with that question, because that's general. Is there anything you got from this discussion with us? In anything that you have derived from it?
It's still good people out there, and to not get bogged down by one bad seed. Still good people out there, and as we work with our brands and companies and we give our all to these jobs, like, we're still people. And to have a light sprinkle in and to be able to just openly talk and discuss and integrate these topics, like this to me, this is what changes the world. Spaces like this and moments like this. So I'm just grateful that, you know, this group has decided to create this space, because me being vulnerable today might help one person, but that's one person that's going to share and it trickle through. So such an amazing opportunity. And what I've gotten from today is that there's good people out there in business. They're still out there, and to never lose hope, because there's good people out there with that integrity, with that grit, with that intelligence, all three combined, who's still out here trying to make a change. And I'm just grateful to be in the space of people who are doing that. So thank you so much again for just opening up your space and your time to me as well.
Ooh, this has been our pleasure, Maegan. You've been amazing, and we're Maegan paying it forward to the end, brand nerds. That's such a great sign off. And Jade, we're going to go to the close here. Thanks for listening to Brands, Beats, and Bites. The executive producers are Jeff Shirley, Daryl DC Cobbin, Larry Taman, Haley Cobbin, Jade Tate, and Tom Bureau.
The Podfather.
That is he. And if you are listening to us via podcast, it would be great if you can please rate and review us. Additionally, if you do like the show, please subscribe and share. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we look forward to next time, where we will have more insightful and enlightening talk about marketing.